Chapter 11. Bo didn't know Zoey was missing until he woke up 2 days later and realized it wasn't her sleeping beside him. He rubbed his alcoholic haze-ridden red eyes when turning to the woman in his bed. He recognized her large calves and full ass in front of him, her breasts turned away and facing away from his feet. He had a few too many the night before and after work. Whenever that occurred, he stayed over with Jessie. He had known her since high school when he was the quarterback in his small Nevada town of Claysville. It had a population of 2,000 residents, and losing a few every year. Now the population may have settled at 1,500 weary souls. There wasn't much to do in Claysville, except go to the local bar and talk about what used to be. There he would meet his teammates who never left or didn't go to college whether they got scholarships or not. They married the local cheerleaders or homecoming queens, and now they bitched about how their wives weren't what they appeared to be, and not as pretty as they thought. The point being that no one was what they appeared to be in high school because they were young and had one thing on their mind: sex. Now most of Bo's friends had children, wives, and responsibilities they didn't want. Jessie had been his girl throughout high school, and she had been one of the cheerleaders that had praised him, comforted him when he dropped the ball, and she provided sex after every win. He even shared her with some of his friends. Bo liked to share his women with his friends. When Bo became tired of Jessie, he passed her over to the next guy waiting, but she was always his girl, that is, until he met the beautiful, vivacious, and cute as a button 10th grade girl by the name of Zoey. They met on the stairs going to class. He on his way to the gym, and she going to her literature class. He couldn't take his eyes off of her, and she was equally taken with him. He was the captain of their high school's football team. And why wouldn't she jump at the chance to date him? He was going to get a scholarship to college, she thought, and she would be there waiting for him. Like that she would get her chance to get out of Claysville. Jessie found out about them dating, and that wasn't hard because the school was small and the town was smaller. She raised hell with Bo threatening to beat Zoey up. He didn't like to be told who he could date or fuck, and he saw Jessie less and less until he didn't see her anymore, at least not so Zoey could find out. By that time Zoey belonged to Bo and his boys. He shared Zoey with all his teammates, and she didn't seem to mind because she thought that would make Bo happy, and she was all about making him happy. His teammates would come back and report to him, and would tell him that he was a lucky man. He got off knowing how good she was in bed, and what a freak she had become, but that's when he became jealous. Bo didn't want her to go out with her girlfriends, not even to the games. He stopped her from having friends and she complied with his wishes. One night, something happened at one of the games. It left him with a broken leg, and his dreams of leaving Claysville went into the toilet. He and his teammates graduated that May. Only a few went to college with scholarships, and they soon returned home. Bo's promise of a scholarship disappeared with his broken leg. But Jessie and Zoey were there competing for whatever was left of Bo. Breaking Jessie's heart was easy. He had done that so many times before, and she came back to him. Zoey was the one he thought he wanted, and so he asked her to marry him. And without reservation she did, not knowing he would take out all his frustrations on her. And when he didn't want him anymore, and Jessie thought that when he came back to her, she had won a prize. Jessie woke when she felt Bo's kiss on her butt. His heated breath had warmed her already warm skin. He nipped one cheek. "Hold on, not now. I need coffee and a cigarette first," Jessie said, hitting him on the leg. She turned and switched positions facing Bo. Her dark hair, strings of dry curls, covered her brown eyes. Looking in Jessie's face, he remembered he had cut Zoey's hair for fucking a stranger, and making him jealous in front of his friends. He had been drunk and forgot that he had dared. She knew he needed her, now that he had become tired of Zoey. She glanced up at him and said, "I saw Zoey." She wore a mischievous smile. Her dark brown eyes twinkled. "Oh shit, what day is it?" "It's Saturday," she said. He sat up, dragging Jessie with him, with Jessie still holding his cock with a smile on her face and still lying face forward between his legs. "Hurry up. I was supposed to pick her up from work yesterday. I don't know how the time got away from me." "That was last night. But she didn't wait for you." She brought her lips together and shook her head side to side. "She did that when she knew a secret." He reached for Jessie's shoulders and brought her to face him. "What do you mean?" Bo asked. "She's not stupid. She wouldn't wait there all night." "She didn't wait for you. I saw her at the hotel where I worked the night shift. She was with this good-looking tall drink of water. A face you wouldn't believe with blue eyes. I get hot just thinking about him." Bo pushed Jessie aside and stared at but not seeing her. His eyes glossing over, but hearing her every word. "He had to be about 6'3" and built like you used to be. You know, with all those muscles in your chest and arms." Bo didn't like the comparison, and he grabbed Jessie's hair. "Fuck that," he said, jumping to his feet and strutting over to her chair filled with clothes to find his jeans on top of a heap of washed damp clothes. He caught sight of himself in the mirror, and he passed his hand across his chest. His muscles had all but disappeared, and he carried a beer belly. "She must be gone by now. Come back to bed," Jessie said, her voice whiny. "What time was it when they left?" "I don't know. I thought it was over between the two of you." "I don't want her, but I don't want anyone else with her," he said as he buttoned his cotton shirt and pulled up his motorcycle boots. Jessie watched at Bo with a small smile. She wanted him to get rid of Zoey since she laid eyes on her. When she found out that Zoey had taken her place with Bo, she lied on Zoey about fucking his friends when Bo hadn't given her the go-ahead, just so Bo could beat her. She remembered their encounter at Zoey's locker, and she said to Zoey, "So you think you've got what it takes to take my man from me?" Zoey glanced at her. "It doesn't take that much from what I'm looking at. I want you to stop seeing Bo." Zoey looked at her and didn't say a word. Closed her locker and pushed past her. She wasn't intimidated by Jessie because she appeared weak. Her face and voice hard, but her words and tone soft. Zoey thought she heard Jessie's voice crack. She rushed to meet Bo and told him what Jessie had said to her. The next day, Jessie just watched at her as if she wanted her dead, and she did. Bo had beat her for talking to Zoey. She remembered all of that, and instead of being angry with Bo, she transferred it to Zoey. She thought Zoey was the problem. "What are you doing, Bo?" Jessie questioned when she saw him pull out his cell phone. "I'm calling my boys." He hit a button and got an answer. "Can you get the guys ready in a half an hour? We need to take care of something. Okay?" Jessie held Bo's hand from the bed as he headed for the door. She turned, showing him her ass, one of her best features as far as Bo was concerned. "When you take care of them, this will be waiting for you." Heat traveled down Bo's chest and down to his groin, and he held his cock because the picture Jessie painted made him weak. When he did bad things, he would go to Jessie for reassurance and rough sex. If Bo expected rough sex from Zoey, he loved rough sex with Jessie. Not even Zoey knew what turned on Bo, but Jessie did. After he and his motorcycle gang had committed a few robberies outside of Claysville, he remembered that she had let him take her from behind. It was the first time he had tried anal sex, and the first time he enjoyed it. But he didn't tell Jessie that he fucked Zoey there often, and they both enjoyed it, but she was the one who turned him on to it, teaching him everything. Bo hid how he felt about Zoey. He didn't tell Jessie that he preferred Zoey's ass more than he ever wanted hers. And Bo didn't tell Jessie that he wanted Zoey back at any cost. 3 of his motorcycle gang members parked outside as he exited Jessie's weather-beaten 3-room shack. Her home sat in rows of small wood-frame houses the paper mill had used for families that first came to this small town of Claysville years ago for jobs. It had stood between San Francisco and Lake Tahoe. Her family came with the idea of working hard and making a lot of money and moving on, but it hadn't quite worked out that way. The family had been there over 50 years, and the only people who became rich were the owners of the mill, and they were closing it down and moving overseas. So where did that leave her and Bo? All she had was Bo. Bo nodded to his gang of buddies. He put on his helmet and extending his hand west, and they zoomed down the dirt road kicking up clouds of dust, following Bo blindly until they reached the highway. They had been traveling for an hour when they pulled into a gas station to take a restroom break and to get water and beer. When Bo checked his bike, he needed some gas. He reached inside his pocket and he only pulled out a 5. Then he remembered why he had planned on picking up Zoey. She got paid and they had to cash her check. He stood glaring at his money and was ready to ask one of his buddies for a loan when a tall man walking out of the door brushed his arm against Bo. "Watch where you're going," Bo said. The man stopped in his tracks and looked over at him. He was dressed in an expensive dark blue suit with expensive tie, shirt, and shoes. Bo took in all of this in a second. Bo resented anyone with money, and looking at him he appeared to be rich. Bo glanced past him to see his car. The man didn't say a word. He didn't have to. He stared at him with glowing amber eyes. He had seen eyes like that before. Not the color, but the same cold strangeness like an animal's eyes, and he remembered that the eyes he recalled belonged to the man he shot for being with Zoey. "I apologize," Bo said. "But are you any relationship to Tracker and Hunter Samsa?" He had to know the connection because the eyes worried him. When Bo found Tracker and Zoey in the hotel room, it was by no accident. Bo's cousin worked at the night desk when Hunter and Tracker checked in and got 2 rooms. When the cousin found out that Zoey was in the room with Tracker, he readily volunteered the number. He had as much to gain from Bo teaching her a lesson about going with strangers as anyone. On occasions, they would engage in a threesome with her. The tall man in the dark suit turned around and walked up to Bo. It was something about him that made Bo tense and scared. He had never been scared of anyone until now, and when he first locked eyes with Tracker. That was one reason he shot him, and the other reason being Zoey was on her knees sucking his large cock. "How do you know them?" the tall man said to Bo, his intense eyes narrowing. "It's a personal matter." "Does it have to do with a woman?" the man said. "Why yes," Bo said. "How did you know?" "I know the Samses. I have a personal relationship with them. Let's say they have something I need, and I have something they need. Here's my card. Call me any time of the day or night." He handed Bo his business card. Bo glanced at it and put it in his pocket. As the tall stranger walked to his Mercedes truck, he stopped, turned around and called out to Bo. "What's your name?" "Bo." Just Bo. He didn't think he should give him his full name because they weren't friends or acquaintances, and Bo wasn't sure of the connection between the stranger and the Samses. "When you find them, tell them I will have the last laugh." He turned away laughing and hopped into his truck with an Indian woman carrying a baby in a blanket.